Hi everybody, welcome to my channel and my first editing video. Today I'm going to be editing one of my submerged flower photographs, but one that's a little bit drab and dull, and I really want to make it pop. So we're going to address that with a bit of in-camera raw and Photoshop editing. So let's get started. We'll get it in the view. There we go. Right, so the first thing I'm looking at, it is very dull looking, isn't it? Let's look at the white balance and see what we can do with that. So this was as shot, and auto, I don't like, that's very yellow, isn't it? Daylight, I quite like. Again, very yellow. And that's quite blue. Look, I think I like daylight best of all of those, so we'll stick with that one. Next, I'm going to look at my colour profile, and I deliberately chose camera clear in my camera here, but it's looking rather dark around here, isn't it? So I'd quite like to change. Let's have a look and see what different options we've got. So there's your clear, deep, light. Light's looking nice, but not much contrast. Landscape, I really like. Standards, okay. Vivid, too vivid. So out of those, I think I prefer the landscape out of all of those. So let's take it back into here. Now, overall, there isn't a great deal I want to do over the whole image. I'd rather do some targeted adjustments. So I'm going to go into the masks area. And the first area that I want to address really is the flowers, because they're kind of fading into this milky liquid and you can't really see them very well. So let's choose an object. We'll drag that over there to choose that object. It won't be exactly precise there, but it's a good start. And let's zoom in to help us see what we're doing. Now I'm going to add a little bit with a brush because it hasn't quite caught all of the flowers. We'll change the brush size. There we go, and just get the tips of these flowers in there. And it doesn't need to be really accurate. There we go, and we'll reduce the flow of it here, just to get the flowers in the background there. They're just fading off a little bit. And a little bit down there. Now it's gone over some of the background, so I want to subtract a little bit of that with another brush. And we'll keep the flow fairly low. And just gently move off some of that and go around the edges a little bit, break it up a little bit, so there's no harsh definition between that background. Because it is quite wispy over the edges of the flowers. And this is just a quick job for the purposes of this editing video, so you can take all the time you need to get it precise if you've got a flower that you want it really precise on. Let's make a larger brush to break up this area down here. Just, there we go, so it'll come in a bit more gradual. And that'll do. Like I say, I didn't need it very precise for this. So what I want to do here is really draw the attention to the flowers. And to do that, we need to create a bit of contrast, really. We are naturally drawn to where there's a lot of contrast in an image. So I think I'm going to go down to the clarity and the texture and increase these first. And the texture. Might zoom back in so you can see these better. So if I switch that off and switch it back on, you can see what I've done. So that's certainly increased the contrast around there, just with the clarity and texture. I might add just a smidgen of dehaze, but not too much. See, it just makes it too dark. I'll just a tiny little bit there. And then as we've darkened the shadows a fair bit actually, and I don't want them too dark. So I'm going to increase my shadows a little bit. And that will do. So that's just a start on making the flowers more obvious in that milky liquid. Now we'll zoom right out for the next mask. Here I want to create a very feathered radial gradient around the flowers. And that's already set at 68 on the feather there, which should be around about right. Let's drag this down over here. Right, that will do. Now I'm going to switch that off so we can see what we're doing a little bit easier. Right, now what I want to do here is increase the exposure because we look at the lightest area of an image. So let's whack that up a little bit. All right, so that has, then we'll also increase the contrast a bit there. That should do to start with. And there's some lovely colours in there, but I think I'm going to saturate it ever so slightly more. That will do. And down to the dehaze again. And that will give it a little bit more. Yes, I know I've gone and darkened it again, but I'm going to go right back up to my shadows. And we'll bring them right up. There we go. So that's that second mask. Now I want to work on the background, but I also want it to be feathered as well. So what I think I'll do is duplicate this mask, but invert it. So I'll be choosing, there we go. There you can see it there. And I'm not sure what, feather it a little bit more. That will do there. And we'll just switch that off so you can see what we're doing here. Now that background's really pale, and I know there's a ton of detail in that background, but we just can't see it very well. Now if you go on down to the dehaze, it's not always my first choice in this sort of subject, but with the submerged flowers in the liquid, it seems to work quite well. So let's increase that a little bit and see what happens. Now I quite like that. It's really brought those colours out and the details out as well. But let's bring the details out a little bit more with some clarity. And you can see what a difference that's made. And we can increase the texture to bring it out even more. Now that's made a huge difference. You can see if I switch that off and back on again, a massive difference, but it is quite dark. So let's go up to the shadows and increase the shadows a little bit there. That's a lot better. And I think I'm going to increase the contrast while I'm here. Okay, that's done that. Now, up on this left-hand corner, it's got quite dark here. In fact, it's dark over this edge, but I'm going to address this bit by subtracting some of it with a brush. And we'll use quite a large brush and a low flow, and just remove a little bit at a time and see how that looks. And just wanting to balance it out with the other side, really. And that's a bit better. But we can see all the way down this left-hand side here, it is darker. That's because my light was mainly coming from my right-hand side here. So let's create a new mask with a linear gradient. And we'll bring it in from that left-hand side, just so it's affecting up to around about here, really, but it'll blend in. And we can adjust that if we need to. So the first thing I want to do is increase my exposure. Much. We'll go for around about there. And also want to increase the contrast a little bit. And let's bring up those highlights as well. We're going to put those right up there. And it's still a bit dark in the shadows, so I'm going to whack the shadows right up. Now it's really evened out with the rest of the image as well, hasn't it? Still a tad dark in some places. I'm going to increase the blacks. There we go. Now, overall, I think I'm a lot happier with that. That's a huge difference so far, isn't it? So let's open that into Photoshop. Right, so I really want to bring out some of those mid-tones and some of the highlights here. So I'm going to use luminosity masks, and I use the TK9 luminosity masks. So let's click on one of these masks, and we're going to choose, we're just going to choose 3 here, because that'll protect the lightest and the darkest tones. And I'm going to go onto my mids and only just give these a gentle nudge. So that's enough to change that. Let's bring this to fit the screen. Right. I'm going to check my levels next. And before we do that, layer, duplicate layer. Okay. I always blend these down and turn that on and off so you can see what's happening. And so here we go, I'm going to check my levels. My blacks are right up against the edge there, and I'm just going to bring those up just about 2 will do. And the whites are quite far. I'm going to bring those down a touch, and we'll see what difference that makes. Yeah, whole load of difference. That's brightened that up nicely. So let's go to make an extra layer here, and we'll work on that one. Back into the TK luminosity masks. Now we're going to go through these and see which will affect the lighter areas here. I really want to bring out the highlights. So we'll go with RGB, red, green. That would affect a lot of the highlights. So what would happen is anything that I work on is going to affect the lightest parts in this image, so all the white areas. That'd be too much. I might go to number 2 here and run through them. I think the green looked the best. Yeah, that would affect it the best. Right, so I'm going to choose the green on the 2 of the highlights. So whatever I do here, it's only going to affect those lighter areas that you saw on there because it's a mask. So let's go into the mids first. And see how much that's affected it. It's quite subtle, but it has helped. I think I will go and do the highlights on another layer. So we'll just merge these 2 down. Close that one, open it up. And I liked the greens, but I'm going to go darker so that really only the very lightest areas are showing there. And I want to affect these areas here. So I'm going to lighten those by going into the highlights and really giving them quite a boost. So when you're looking at the image overall, it doesn't look like it's doing very much. But when you zoom in, I turn that off, it's not doing a lot. Alt for 4, but there you can see that subtle change, which is quite nice. I like that. So I think I'll also increase the highlights in another area as well. Zoom out again. Let's go for the highlights. We'll blend it down. Might choose the cyans. Yeah, let's go for them and increase the highlights there. So choose your highlights up here and increase it. See how, yeah, that's brought them out a bit more as well. Again, if you zoom in, you can see the difference, switching it on and off. And There you go. That really shows how much of a difference it makes. So let's merge these down. The screen, and we'll look at the before and after there. That's from Photoshop, and that's how much it's changed there. That's done quite a nice job. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a mask just to darken the outer edges slightly. Create a little bit of vignetting. We'll switch that off. So let's go up to here. We'll just use that. And we're going to feather it quite a lot. So that's feather 450, but there we go. We'll select that area and let's invert it. And what I'm going to do is just remove all of the edge of our editing in Photoshop, so that we're left with the previous version, which was darker. It was much darker, wasn't it? Like that. So it'll give a natural vignetting. So let's fill that with grey. Let's go to edit, fill, grey. And let's just deselect that. And you'll be able to see the difference. There we go. And it's just given an ever so subtle vignetting. You can't really see it at all. And from there, I'm going to go around the image and do some retouching. And you're not going to want to see all of this retouching really. But there was a drip of water caught the outside of the tank, so we definitely want to address that. But this is just how I would do it. For an area like this, I would break it up into parts. And I'd go edit, fill, content aware. This is the way I find works best for stuff like this. Unfortunately, I'm doing that on the mask, which was a bit silly, wasn't it? So we'll undo fill. Let's just layer. Let's check I've got that right. Yeah, right. Start again. Edit, fill, content aware. And that's made a decent job of that. And we'll just work our way down over this strip. And we'll just tackle this bit down here first. And the great thing about this is there's all of these lines all over in this milky water, so this all just blends in easily. And you can just keep on working at it until you are happy with it. So just fill in these little sections. Right, and nobody's going to notice any of that, really. Do a little bit more there. There we go. Now I need to go in closer because I was a bit silly when I made this one. I had been wearing a black cardigan. And although I took it off when I was photographing this, I didn't wash my arms and brush off all of the fibres. So you can see what's happened here as my hand's gone into the water. All of these little fibres got in the water, which is right pain in the butt when you've got to clean it up afterwards. So anybody that's watched my submerged flower photography tutorial, now you know why I tell you to wash your arms down if you're taking off a jumper. Anything with any fibres that'll come off there. It will save you a lot of time in Photoshop. So I will just quickly do over this. So I'm not going to show you all of this. I'm just going to do a small area just to show you how I go about doing a little bit of a cleanup of one of my submerged flower photography images. You're basically just looking for any lumps of ink or milk that are distracting, and any floaters of any type that I've managed to get into the liquid, such as those hairs. And then occasionally you will find little bits that are on the very edge. I noticed them down here. I'll show you in a moment. So here on the very edge of the frame, bits like that draw your eye to the edge. So I'll just select them like this and use content aware to remove those little bits. So let's just pause the video here and I'll catch up with you at the end when I've finished doing all of this spot removal. So here we are with the final image. I've been over it and removed any bits of hair and any distracting elements, and just haven't done any more editing than that. So that's a simple before and after. So I hope you enjoyed the video and you will join me for some more. Thank you. Right, so I've finished getting rid of all of those little bits of hairs and blobs of paint and any distractions there. And I wanted to show you the full before and after. So this is when I took it into camera raw and nothing at all had been done. That was the straight out of the camera image. And this is the completed image, all of the steps that you saw. And if you want to look at it a different way, we'll just go before and after. It's a massive difference, isn't it? Or you can look at them side by side like that. So I do hope you enjoyed that little bit of editing. You found something useful in there. And I'm hoping to make a few more videos, so do check back on my channel. All right, bye for now.